Welcome to the Dakota Resource Council Podcast, where we dig into challenges facing North Dakota and explore real solutions. I'm your host, Sean Erickson, the Communications Coordinator with Dakota Resource Council. Join us as we connect with local leaders and everyday heroes who are stepping up to protect our land, water, and way of life. Today, we're joined by April Fairfield, former state representative and state senator serving the rural Jamestown, North Dakota area. April, thank you for coming on the DRC podcast. We appreciate it. And before we get into the ins and outs of DRC, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me. It's fun to be here. I live here in Bismarck, but I still consider myself rural, I guess, and adhere to the values that I learned there. I grew up on my grandparents' farm west of Jamestown. We raised spring wheat and Hereford.
Oh, wow.
Cattle,
Those are magic words to me.
Right. My grandfather taught me to love, respect, and protect the land. In my family, it was often said that we come from the land, we are part of the land, and one day we'll return to the land.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So today I own that farm, and I protect that legacy by being a member of DRC.
That's awesome. I mean, anymore, you don't see many people that are able to take over their grandparents' land. So that's really awesome that you can do that. So
yeah,
I'm going to come out and visit then. That's off the subject, John.
You should definitely do that. You should definitely do that. Well, my daughter has a horse. It's here in Bismarck, so it'll be a long ride. But
I'll ride it to Jamestown.
Certainly do that. Yeah, that would be a fun trip for you.
We'll get video of that as well.
I'm also a former state legislator. I spent 10 years in the House and Senate, and I have a family. I have a daughter, and she's out in Montana.
You're living the North Dakota life.
I am.
You really are.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about it. So how did you become involved in DRC? I'm guessing, is that the...
Actually, I guess I didn't become really aware. I guess you'd consider it eastern North Dakota because it was outside of Jamestown. But I didn't really become aware of DRC until the early 90s with their legislative presence. I was just so impressed with their tenacity. I was working during the legislative session. I wasn't elected at that point. And they sort of seemed like this little, kind of ragtag little group of dedicated individuals who just showed up day in and day out, and they never backed down no matter what the odds were. And then a few years later, when I actually was elected, I worked with them and a group of organizations to protect the anti-corporate farming law and protect landowners from large-scale industrial feeding operations. And I was so impressed with their concern for those who live on the land and their bottom-up process, but it's actually driven by the people that it affects. I was sold, and I knew that was this organization was the real deal.
Yeah. Well, and with that, what are some memories or milestones that just make you proud of DRC?
Oh wow. Well, that's really
besides the day that they hired me. But go ahead.
That stands out for sure as number one. That and the day I became the chair of the organization, which was probably their second smartest moment.
Yes.
Kidding. I'm totally. That's actually a tough one for me because there are a lot of moments for me that I think about over the years. But I think the most memorable moment for me was probably in the early 2000s. It was the epic Goliath Monsanto battle with when we stopped the proliferation of genetically modified wheat. And DRC was central to that effort. And really, as much as any legislative effort or legislative issue, I think that solidified DRC as the ag justice organization in North Dakota. That was a huge, monumental victory for wheat farmers across the state. And I think it also was the moment that DRC became a truly statewide organization. I mean, they had been a statewide organization, but that moment when they stood for wheat farmers, prior to that, a lot of the idea was it was about coal. It was a Western organization, and that to me feels like it was the moment they became a statewide organization. And interestingly, even though that happened in the early 2000s, that debate is still happening today.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're growing, Roundup Ready corn, soybeans, canola. But to this day, Monsanto would like to introduce Roundup Ready, alfalfa and wheat and sugar beets, for Pete's sake, whatever. And the long-term consequences of that, we don't know what they are, what they would be to our markets. I mean, that's unknown. And I think it's a huge concern for our community. So DRC to this day, a quarter century later, is still standing with farmers and ranchers against bullies like Monsanto, and today against bullies like Summit Carbide Pipeline. And so to me, that was probably my most memorable, and when I think back at as to the power of this organization.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one, and you're the first one to bring that one up. So, on the podcast right now, basically, when you were as a former legislator, like, what role does DRC play in shaping policy? I mean, you touched a little bit on the Monsanto, but all the others, you talked about seeing the ragtag group there. I mean, as a former senator, seeing us run around up there, do you think it's a major role? I mean,
yeah. I mean, actually, and that's interesting because I said that my first impression was, this ragtag group of dedicated individuals, and I couldn't have been more wrong about that. DRC's organizing model is super sophisticated. It's super sophisticated. It's very effective. And I think legislators and corporations who take this organization for granted do so at their political peril. And I think it becomes maybe a little bit of a rope-a-dope. They just see this, it's don't worry, it's just it's just DRC or whatever. And they don't realize the level of sophistication and ability and that they actually accomplishment, I guess, that they've done. And that's because I think the model is not some top-down lobbying firm telling constituents to show up or write a letter, or some hired lobbyist schmoozing a legislator. I mean, the people who are involved in these issues, who show up, are dedicated because it matters. I mean, it's their livelihood. It's their safety. It's their homes, their farms, their community. These are actual North Dakotans who give a damn, and they're not going away because they're not being paid. It's their lives. It's not just like some of these legislators. I think that when they vote on things, and I witnessed this. I mean, they're voting because maybe they're being told, oh, well, this is the way that we have to go this way, or whatever. This is the way the majority or whatever wants it. It's a red or a green vote, and that's essentially what it means to them. But for the people who show up, it matters to them because it's their future, and you cannot buy what DRC members you can't buy that with a lobbyist, and you cannot discount what it means to be a North Dakotan and to be a member. That what is it? They say the wheels of justice turn slowly but grind exceedingly fine. Legislators and corporations would do well to remember that when dealing with constituents who show up in their going to town clothes instead of their $10,000 suits, they would do really well to pay attention to that.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's beautiful. So we talked about the impact that DRC had with Monsanto and agriculture. Are there any other, impact on agriculture that DRC has done?
For sure.
After that?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I'm so proud of the work that DRC has done in ag, because they have been the standout organization for protecting our state's anti-corporate farming law. They're at the forefront of protecting landowner rights, and the egregious and unwarranted use of eminent domain. I mean, they're the ones who were there, standing out on that. They continue to work on crucial issues such as, the dangerous and crushing effects of market concentration. They're still working on issues that have been issues for a long time, even country of origin labeling. I mean, these things, sometimes they've been around for a really long time. And sometimes there's a groundswell and other organizations will get involved. They'll come, they'll go. Maybe they've been there for 100 years and then suddenly they decide, maybe this isn't as important to us as it was, or they will be co-opted into something else. Mm-hmm. But DRC, they are right there and they've stood strong. And the bottom line for me is DRC is the organization doing the work in ag policy on the ground with the people to whom it matters on state policy issues. From that, they're the people who do the paying and the living and the dying on this land, and DRC is going to stand with them. And I that's why I think they're the real deal. And furthermore, I think that the big impact that DRC has on ag and in North Dakota is that DRC doesn't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. They don't care if you've never been with them on another issue in the past, or if you're going to even be with them in the future. I think what matters to them is where you are and whether you're doing the right thing for people being impacted on that policy or that corporation or that rule or that law that is unjust or hurtful to the community or that livelihood or the future. And it's right now. And I think that is something that is truly remarkable about DRC, is that it doesn't, if there is a creed to DRC, it is that it's doing right for the people that it matters for, not because of your political persuasion or because because you've been there for them in the past or you will be in the future. It's because it's the right thing to do.
With DRC, can you discuss the importance of grassroots organizing in North Dakota, the work that DRC does and how important it is?
We just can't sit idly by. I mean, we can't sit idly by while others make decisions that impact our future and our world. And DRC takes that and works with the community and uses that and says that this is not about DRC. This is about your community. They don't come into a community and say, hey, you should work on this issue. You should, whatever it is, this is XYZ, and this is something important. It's the people in the community that come forward and say, this is really impactful to us and we need to do something about it. And so that's kind of the difference, is that these are people who sometimes don't want to sit idly by, but they don't have the tools or the resources necessarily to move forward. And that's where DRC comes in and says, you know what? We got you, boo. We got your back. Let's show you how to work to actually make these policies happen. And that's, since I left politics, I think of DRC as the go-to organization. I mean, they're making a difference. They're working at the grassroots level to bring the voice from the people to the power and thus shift the balance of power. They don't have a lot of time to waste, and we have to act now. And that's why I'm such a true believer in it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that do agree with us, but they don't know what to do or how to get involved. And in your mind, what are some ways for some folks to get involved with DRC and support them
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people right away think that it's like, oh, I have to get up in front of a large group of stuffy people and talk. But that's not just the only thing that you can do.
No. I mean, you can do it from the very basics. I mean, you can just join. I mean, joining, just adding to our numbers helps. You can donate. Oh my gosh. If you can't donate, then follow on social media. I mean, everyone has their own level of ability to contribute. And when I say contribute, I mean their own ability to be impactful and affect change. And whether that is, you know what, they're just doing the right thing and I'm just going to put this little like on here, or I'm going to, write a letter, or you know what, I don't want my name necessarily out there because I'm afraid of the repercussions. So I'm going to send them $5 or 5,000. Yeah. I mean, whatever their ability is, you can get behind what the organization is doing on so many different levels. You don't have to feel like there is some set level to which you aren't doing enough. If you're doing anything, you're helping.
And all those are good points. And as we go through this interview, all the things that DRC has done, like, why should people support Dakota Resource Council, and what impact can their support have?
I think one of the things that I haven't mentioned so far about Dakota Resource Council that I think is something different from some of the other organizations. There are myriad nonprofit organizations out there who do really good work in North Dakota. And by George, let's, get out there and be involved in all sorts of them. But one of the things that really moves me about Dakota Resource Council, they'll never shy away from a fight. No matter how big the bully, no matter how big the odds, no matter the size of the corporate players, threatening the farmers or the ranchers of the community or members across the state, DRC is going to stand with the people and have their back. They're always going to dance with the ones who brung them. And I find that so refreshingly different from a lot of the people that you see that go to the Capitol and, that are there lobbying. I mean, you see sometimes these organizations that, they're going to go and they're willing to make a deal and they're, and in the name of compromise. And I understand that compromise is sometimes how you get things going and but also you need an organization like Dakota Resource Council who says, no, hell no. We're going to stand with the people. We're going to dance with the ones that brung us. And no matter what, we're going to be the ones that stand with the people of this community, these farmers, these ranchers. And we have their back. And I'm really proud to be part of that legacy. And I think that is a refreshing thing to hear in today's really cynical politics, that there's an organization that is that way, and DRC is that way, and it matters. It really, really matters. It reminds me of a quote from my favorite movie, A Wonderful Life, is that DRC reminds me of that line that says, this town needs this measly one-horse institution, if only to have some place to come to without crawling to Potter. To me, that's what DRC is. It's that one place that people can go to, that they have an outlet, that they have an avenue that is not just completely taken up by the corporate and the one horse rule.
Yeah, and we've appreciated your voice over the years, and you're one of the many members that have brought that. So I think if you agree with April, then join on in, because we need definitely more people, especially as the tide is turning and different issues coming up. So and it has been great the past few months, finding different people coming out with their voice. So, and it just more of us makes a difference. So I mean, you pretty much covered the whole gamut of DRC, which is good. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, just join DRC. It matters. It really matters. Join today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We appreciate it. I love conversations with you, and a little awkward with lights on us, but hey, you get to see all my zits, so thank you.
Oh, funny.
Thanks for tuning in to the Dakota Resource Council Podcast. To learn more, connect, or donate, visit drcinfo.org. I'm Sean Erickson. Until next time, keep the grassroots growing strong.